So, guys, in this next news story, it's actually a story that broke this morning, and a gang of 24 men have been jailed for doing the word beginning with R to young girls in Yorkshire. Sentencing took place yesterday at Leeds Crown Court for the latest men convicted as part of Operation Toraway, a multi-year investigation into the non-recent exploitation of young girls in North Kirklees. Up until now, their identifications had not been made public due to strict reporting restrictions to protect the integrity of the huge police operation, investigation and subsequent court hearings. However, these restrictions were lifted yesterday. West Yorkshire Police has praised the courage and determination of the brave victims who came forward to provide evidence during a lengthy trial, which took more than 2 years. Asif Ali from Batley, Mohammed Tausif Anif from Dewsbury, Ali Shah, 38 from Dewsbury, Mohsin Nadat, 38 from Heckman, right? Safraz Miraf is 38 from Dewsbury, Mohammed Nazim Nasir is 38 from Batley, Amir Ali Hussein is 45 from Batley, were all sentenced for multiple offences. There was an 8th man who was also made subject of a hospital order following a finding of the facts at court, and their conviction means 25 men have so far been sentenced for their role in the RSA and trafficking of 8 then young girls in North Kirklees between 1999 and 2012. 3 of the men convicted received sentences in excess of 30 years each during the trials, most of which were protected by reporting restrictions to ensure those involved could be tried fairly. Now, with the lifting of restrictions, 24 men brought to court so far have been disclosed, and they are Kuram Razik, who's 42, got jailed for 22 years. Nasser Hussein is 46, got jailed for 18 years. Zafar Qayyum is 44, got jailed for 30 years. Ansar Qayyum is 47, got jailed for 20 years. Mohammed Jabbar Qayyum, 43, was jailed for 13 years. Mohammed Imran Zadar, 45, got 15 years. Michael Birkinshaw, who's 37, got sentenced to 8 years. Amran Maraban, who's 40, was jailed for 13 years. Shakurat Yassan, who's 38, was jailed for 15 years. Salim Nasir, who's 48, was sentenced to 19 years. Irfan Khan, who's 37, was sentenced to 12 years. Omar Hussein, who's 39, was sentenced to 18 years. Safraz Riaz, who's 40, was sentenced to 15 years. Zafar Iqbal, who's 38, was sentenced to 17 years. So most of these guys are from Batley. Nasser Iqbal, who's 38, was sentenced to 10 years. Mohammed Chothia, who's 47, was sentenced to 17 years. Bilal Patel, who's 42, was sentenced to 13 years. Asif Ali, who's 53, was sentenced to 24 years. Mohammed Tausif, who's 39, was jailed for 9.5 years. Ali Shah was jailed for 10 years. Mohsin Nadat was jailed for 7.5 years. Safraz Miraf, who's 49, was jailed for 4.5 years. Mohammed Nazam Nassar was sentenced to 7.5 years. And Amir Ali Hussein, who's 45, was sentenced to 8 years. Dedicated safeguarding detectives began investigating non-recent reports concerning some of the men from 2015, with more suspects being uncovered as inquiries progressed. Arrests were conducted from November 2018 across the West Yorkshire area, and all of the suspects were charged in December 2020, with court proceedings starting in December the 11th. The men had been sentenced as part of 5 trials heard at Leeds Crown Court between 2022 and 2024. West Yorkshire Police DCI Oliver Coates of Kirklees Police said the conviction and sentencing of these 8 men represents a significant milestone for victims in this case. Their bravery in coming forwards and identifying their abusers has allowed us to take action against men whose offending and behaviour can only be described as abhorrent in the extreme. Now that reporting restrictions have been lifted, we can for the first time disclose full details of all those sentences so far and what has been a long trial process. He added, throughout the last 2 years, juries have heard details of absolutely shocking offending committed against victims in these cases. Some of these men received in excess of 30 years each for the multiple offences they committed and the unbelievably callous and degrading way in which they treated these then young girls. He said, far from being powerless, however, those young women have instead fought back as adults and forced them to account for their crimes. They displayed real courage and determination in giving evidence through what has been lengthy trials and supporting our investigations. There's a hope they can find some closure and satisfaction in knowing they have enabled police and partners to mount a huge and highly difficult investigation which has taken these men off our streets for years to come. And in this next news story, two brothers have been jailed for over 34 years, having been found guilty of conspiracy to evade the prohibition on the importation of cocaine. Met police officers pieced together their group's movements and disrupted their plan to bring dangerous drugs onto the streets of London. The case comes as the Met continues to fight crime and tackle the issues that matter to communities most, making London safer for those that live, work and raise a family in the capital. Specialist Met officers have spent the last 3 years taking down a large drug trafficking organisation through compiling extensive CCTV and dissecting encrypted software used by criminals to arrange drug importation. Officers uncovered that the organised group made 19 importations between May 2020 and August 2020 with a street value of £8.8 million. The dedicated Met officers had resulted in the sentencing of 12 people, and 10 of these men had been sentenced at earlier dates, with the final 2 sentenced last Friday. Jonathan Lynn, who's 41, was sentenced to 18 years and 8 months in prison, and Nicholas Lynn, who's 35, was sentenced to 15 years and 3 months in prison. Detective Inspector Lydia Stevens from the Met Specialist Crime South Unit said, "This investigation is a powerful example of the extraordinary work undertaken by the Met's highly skilled and dedicated detectives in order to identify, apprehend and prosecute organised criminals. We are committed to identifying and dismantling entire networks from the top down to scourge of drug dealing and the associated crimes which impact our communities here in London. These vast quantities of cocaine were bound for our communities, and I am pleased we've taken them off the streets. Drugs and violence come hand in hand, and we will continue to seek out perpetrators who wish to jeopardise the safety of Londoners." Detective Constable Leon Yer, who worked on the case, said the success of this case is down to the massive team effort across the Met involving multiple units and officers coming together to help make sure this pipeline of Class A drugs to London was dismantled. Officers worked relentlessly to gather evidence to prove the Lynn brothers' involvement, and officers were able to piece together hundreds of hours of CCTV from thorough services to prove this was a meeting spot used by the criminal gang to hand over large amounts of drugs destined for London. Officers were able to analyse communications on EncroChat, historically used by criminal gangs to communicate in an encrypted system through username used by the Lynn brothers. This showed their involvement in the arranging the transportation of Class A drugs from Lithuania to be driven into the UK on HGV lorries. The team then made use of a drug expert witness to show the Lynn brothers' leadership role through further data analysis of communications between the accomplices. So guys, here's a couple of stories coming out from the streets of the UK. Once again, if you already haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel and please give this video a little like. It's your boy GT. Keep it locked, keep it real.